Bancorv version 2. So Bancorv version 2 has a lot of people in the DeFi community excited right now because it plans to eliminate some of the fundamental problems that have existed within automated market makers since inception. So over the last couple of years, people who stake liquidity inside of these liquidity pools have suffered from something called impermanent loss. That's not going to be a thing anymore with Bancorv version 2. You can forget about that. Also, single asset token exposure is going to be a thing that gets introduced in Bancorv version 2. So anybody will be able to have one token, be able to stake it inside the liquidity pool and have exposure to only that one asset rather than having to have exposure 50-50 to two separate assets. And third major thing is the bonding curve. So Bancorv has been studying a lot about bonding curves, and to my knowledge, it's the only one who's really got an advanced bonding curve system that's being introduced. So basically what it is, it's going to allow the liquidity pools that exist on Bancorv to be a lot deeper than your traditional V1 liquidity pools that you'd find on Bancorv V1 or Uniswap V1 or even V2. This is going to allow $1 of liquidity to function similar to $20 of liquidity. This is incredibly powerful because liquidity begets more liquidity. So as you can see, it creates a virtuous circle of liquidity. So pretty much the more trading volume, the more market makers are going to join the system. The more market makers join the system, the more liquidity, the less slippage there's going to be. So the tighter the spreads are going to be, and it creates a circle of liquidity, which is what we mean when we say it begets liquidity. More and more liquidity continues to be attracted into the system. Now, I truly believe this is just the beginning for where the Bancorv protocol is about to take us, where it's about to go. And the reason I believe that is because when you really think about it, it's just a protocol. In the same way that we have internet protocols today, the dominant protocols will be used and the ones that are not dominant will not be used. So I think there will be a few dominant protocols that will be used, and there will be ones that get abandoned and nobody ever hears about them ever again. Now, when it comes to protocols, it's very different than companies. So if you think about it, what we're essentially competing with is right now in the immediate term, centralized exchanges. And if you do a conservative estimate of, let's say, we could generate $1 billion of trading volume per day, which is really conservative when you consider how much trading volume actually goes on these centralized crypto exchanges as a whole, because you really do have to factor them as a whole. We're not competing with just one exchange like Binance or Coinbase. We're competing with all of them as a whole because we're a protocol, not a business. So essentially, you're eliminating the middleman, right? Because that's what blockchain does. So we're trying to get rid of the centralized exchanges. So you got to think conservatively, we could get $1 billion trading volume per day, right? Conservatively. But thinking big picture, Web 3.0 is all about tokenization. It's all about asset tokenization. And the more I go through it, the more I see that pretty much everything can actually be tokenized. There are so many different things that can be tokenized.
So here's a list of some of the things that can actually be tokenized and therefore can be traded inside of the Bancorv protocol. Precious metals, art, funds, corporate debt, corporate equity, loans, collectibles, physical and digital, collectible cars, real estate, commercial, residential, intellectual property, patents, licenses, commodities, oil, coffee, beans, gold, sports teams, athletes, celebrities, licenses, certificates, gift cards, music, domains, in-game assets, digital asset bundles, gaming and non-gaming, asset bundles, energy, fractional ownership, things like real estate, loyalty reward points, investment options, identity, keys or passes, estate planning, supply chain, wine, luxury goods, and the list goes on and on and on.
I think the Bancorv protocol can be used to replace all sorts of trillion-dollar marketplaces that exist today. one of the biggest marketplace, in fact, the biggest marketplace in the world, is the forex market. I think Bancorv protocol is just getting started. And if you read the original proposal of John Maynard Keynes of the Bancorv proposal that he proposed at the Bretton Woods conference after World War II, it was actually about creating an international clearinghouse for the rest of the fiat currencies of the world to trade against. So rather than one country, one sovereign country having the reserve currency like what exists today, where the dollar is a reserve currency, he proposed that we have this alternate currency system that everybody could trade against.
The foreign exchange or forex market is the largest financial market in the world, larger even than the stock market, with a daily volume of 5.1 trillion versus 84 billion for equities worldwide, according to the 2016 Triennial Central Bank Survey of FX and OTC derivatives markets.
So over $5 trillion gets traded every single day on forex markets. Forex is the biggest market in the entire world. It's actually even much bigger than the equities market. So imagine, and that's something that the Bancorv protocol can be used and traded on. You can create forex markets quite beautifully on the Bancorv market, and you can actually, what's even crazier about it is, yes, you can have all of these national currencies that get traded at a volume of 5 trillion plus every single day, but then on top of that, add to it the long tail of crypto tokens, which, if anything about the theory of the long tail holds true, which is that there's actually more value in the long tail than when it comes to the internet than the hits, than sort of the main hits, then maybe we can expect to see in the coming years that long tail actually be bigger in daily trading volume than that $5 trillion number. So we're talking about a multi-trillion dollar market, and that's just in personal tokens, that's just in national currencies. That doesn't have anything to do with all of the vast other things that can be tokenized, like NFTs and such. So in closing, liquidity protocols like Bancorv are going to be the backbone of Web 3.0. Every single asset that gets tokenized will want to connect to a global liquidity network. Metcalfe's law states that the more nodes that exist inside the network, the more powerful that network ultimately becomes. So everyone is going to want to connect into this valuable liquidity network that is being strung together today. So this is not financial advice, but before the Bancorv version 2 gets released next month in early July, pending that the audits go well, I recommend you pick up some BNT, stake inside the system, become an owner in a global liquidity network.